At this facility entrance, a guard manually closes a large sliding steel gate along its track. As the gate moves, it begins to shift out of its upper guide alignment. Never, ever operate a heavy sliding gate that does not have properly functioning end-of-travel controls. In a busy distribution center, a worker walks on a moving conveyor belt to reposition packages. As he nears the discharge end, his footing becomes unsteady. Never, ever position yourself near the head pulley of an active conveyor system. This area forms a belt-to-structure contact zone where the belt passes over the pulley and meets a fixed surface below. Entry into this zone increases the likelihood of reduced footing stability or unintended proximity before corrective action can be taken. To prevent this, do not stand or ride on conveyor belts. Emergency stop pull cords must remain accessible at discharge points so the system can be stopped immediately if unsafe conditions develop. On an assembly line, a technician reaches into a transfer station believing the system has stopped. The automated clamping mechanism re-engages unexpectedly. Never ever introduce any body part or object within the operating envelope of automated equipment without full energy isolation. Automated clamps and transfer devices function based on program logic and sensor input. They do not recognize human presence unless engineered safeguarding systems are active. To prevent this, follow a strict hands-off approach by using approved tools, push sticks, or alignment aids instead of direct hand placement. If manual access is required, the machine must be fully locked out and verified de-energized before entry. At a roadside tire service area, a mechanic leans over a large commercial vehicle tire during inflation. As pressure builds, the sidewall shows visible bulging under load. This scenario illustrates a structural performance reduction condition within the tire sidewall. When internal reinforcement components deteriorate due to fatigue or damage, separation can develop gradually as internal pressure builds. To prevent this, require the use of an approved tire inflation safety cage or protective barrier for all heavy-duty tires. Use a clip-on air chuck with a remote extension hose long enough to keep the operator well outside the potential hazard zone. In this unfinished interior space, a tiler attempts to lower a large porcelain slab into position using a wide, low squat. As the weight shifts, his balance shifts. This demonstrates the risk associated with overextension during manual material handling. Squatting with legs spread wide shifts the body's center of gravity away from stable support. Use vacuum suction cups and coordinate a two-person placement method from an upright, stable stance. Keep footwear on dry, secure surfaces and avoid straddling wet areas. For oversized tiles, use tile carts, placement frames, or temporary walking boards to maintain a consistent footing throughout the task. High on this oil rig derrick, a derrickman ends up too close to the traveling block assembly as it starts to travel downward. This situation highlights the hazard of unintended proximity to moving equipment. When personal protective equipment, clothing, or connectors are positioned near active hoisting components, a worker's position can be affected by equipment motion dynamics. Confirm all anchor points before initiating any hoisting movement. Fall protection lanyards must be connected only to approved static structural anchors, never to traveling blocks, elevators, or hoist lines. In a maintenance yard, a welder works beneath a raised dump truck tailgate supported only by the hydraulic system. Never, ever position yourself within the vertical movement zone of an elevated component without a verified mechanical support. Hydraulic systems are designed for movement and adjustment, not long-term static holding. A reduction in pressure due to seal wear or hose degradation can cause unexpected movement without prior indication. Always install manufacturer-approved body props or properly rated blocking before working within the movement zones of raised components. If a mechanical locking device cannot be verified, the defined movement zone below the component must remain restricted at all times. On a sandy roadside surface, an operator reverses a forklift off a flatbed trailer without ramps. The setup is unstable. Forklifts rely on a defined stability triangle formed by wheel contact points and the counterweight. When rear support points leave the surface while the counterweight remains elevated, the stability envelope is exceeded. Use only rated loading docks or steel ramps designed specifically for equipment transfer. Operators must wear seat belts at all times, as the overhead protective structure is only effective when the operator remains within the protected zone during stability loss events. In a cotton storage depot, a worker struggles to open a tightly bound bale and attempts to cut the binding using an open flame source. Once heat is introduced to the exposed fibers, conditions become critical immediately. Never ever introduce any ignition or heat-producing source into a fiber storage zone. This represents a high flammability hazard. Loose cotton fibers have an extremely high surface area to mass ratio and remain fully oxygenated at all times. Instead of reacting gradually, these fibers can ignite and spread extremely fast. A single heat contact point can trigger rapid surface involvement that spreads faster than a person can reasonably react, making immediate control very difficult once it begins. To prevent this, facilities must enforce a strict no ignition sources policy by screening and restricting items such as lighters and matches before personnel enter the storage area. All workers should be equipped with approved safety shears or hook-style cutting tools specifically designed for cutting bale bindings. Always remember, within a combustible fiber environment, an ignition source is not a convenience tool. It is a serious and unacceptable hazard. In a material yard, a worker positions himself within the rear movement zone of an open dump truck tailgate while a nearby truck reverses. Never, ever position yourself within a converging component zone during active vehicle movement. External forces transmitted through vehicle structures can exceed the designed holding capability and allow component movement beyond intended limits. Establish a clearly barricaded exclusion zone before inspecting or servicing vehicles. Suspend surrounding traffic and use spotters to manage movement. No worker should occupy the rear zone of a vehicle while other equipment remains in motion nearby. At a busy intersection, a road crew focuses on underground repairs as traffic passes alongside them. An unsecured vehicle part enters the work zone without warning. Unsecured vehicle parts continue traveling due to inertia after separation. Their path of travel is unpredictable and cannot be effectively managed through visual warning devices alone. Deploy positive protection measures. Traffic cones provide guidance but do not physically stop hazards. Use shadow vehicles, barrier trucks, or concrete barriers to shield the work zone. Assign a dedicated spotter to monitor traffic continuously and provide immediate warning if conditions change. On a stone patio, a worker sets up an articulated ladder to reach a shade sail overhead. However, the ladder is configured incorrectly. Never, ever allow any part of a ladder other than its designated safety feet to contact the ground. This creates a low friction trap, where metal components can lose traction on smooth surfaces, while rubber feet are designed to grip and stabilize. Multi-position ladders must be configured so the flared base and rubber shoes fully support the load. On smooth surfaces, stabilizing mats or additional securing methods should be used to prevent unexpected repositioning. To keep learning from these important workplace safety lessons, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Stay aware, stay safe.